This is the third review video for exam 2. And before I move on to problem 12, I want to make a correction. Here, the number originally was 123. It came from this fraction here when we turned it into improper. And what I did not copy the number correctly here. So this should have been 123, not only 23. So 123 divided by 10. That's what I should have multiplied. And so because of that, my problem was wrong. So if we multiply 123 times 3, that will be 369. So now 369 minus 172, that will give us positive 197. So that will be the correct answer. And this one turned into a mixed fraction. If that was part of the question, it would be 6 with 17 over 30. So now moving on to problem 12, and so for problem 12, I'm gonna have to make some room somewhere. And so here we have two fractions that are multiplying each other. We have this fraction here, and we have this other one here. And so in this case, I knew they were multiplying because I can see the dot in between them. So you know that when you multiply a negative times a negative, you are going to get a positive. So our answer is going to be positive, we know that, and then we're going to multiply just straight across. So you can think of negative 1 times negative 18, that will be positive 18. And then we also multiply 9 times 8, and that will give us 72. And those two numbers can be divided by 2. So 18 divided by 2 gives me 9, and 72 divided by 2 gives me 36. Now 9 can be divided by 3, it gives me a 3, and 36 divided by 3 gives me 12. Again, 3 is divisible by 3, so 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. And so that will be the simplest form of that fraction, 1/4. So that is the answer for problem number 12, 1/4. And for problem 11, it was this one here. Remember, I made a correction. So it's 192 over 30. So now I'm going to move on to the next question here, which is 13. And we have three fractions. All three of them have different denominators. And so that is going to be the first thing that I do. I'm going to make them have the same denominator. So let's do a quick prime factorization here. So we have the number 18. And we can divide by 2, we get 9. Divide by 3, we get 3. Divide by 3, we get 1. Now, we also need to do that for 6. And for 6 is going to be divide by 2, you get 3. And then divide by 3, you get 1. And finally, for 10, we will get 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. So now, out of all our numbers, 2 times 3 times 3, that is the prime factorization of 18. The prime factorization of 6 is 2 times 3, and the prime factorization of 10 is 2 times 5. So you could see that they all have a 5 in common. I'm sorry, a 2. So that's going to be one of our factors. They all have a 3. Actually, they not all have to have it. Even if only one number has it, we still have to account for it. And we also have a 5. We have to account for every single different number there. So our LCD or LCM is going to be 2 times 3, which is 6, times 5, 30. So that is what we want all of our fractions to have in the denominator. And see, actually, I made a mistake because here with 3 times 3, we're actually saying 3 to the second power. And so remember, we always got to take the factor to the biggest power. So this will be 2 times 9 times 5. So this is incorrect. And it's going to be 9 times 5. Let's do that. That's easy. It's 9 times 5 is 10. And then 10 times 9 is 90. So that's actually going to be our LCM or LCD. So we want our 3 fractions to have a 90 on the bottom. And so for our first fraction, for that 18 to turn into a 90, we could divide 90 by 18, and that would give us 5. So we need to multiply by 5 over 5. So 5 times 7 is 35. Then for the second fraction, 1 over 6, to convert that into a 90, the 6 into a 90, we need to multiply by 15. So 15 and 15. So we're going to get 15 times 1 is 15. 15 times 6 is 90. Now, finally, for our last fraction, what we're going to have to use to multiply is 9 over 9. So 7 times 9 is 63. And 10 times 9 is 90. We have it here. So now we could do the following. We can add our positive numbers. So 35 plus 63 is equal to 98. So 98 minus, and then the 15 here. Remember that is divided by 90. And so 98 minus 15 is equal to 83. So 83 over 90, and there's nothing else we can do to simplify that one. That would be the simplest form. So let's move on to the next one, and the next one is a division. Before I divide, I'm going to turn them into improper fractions. So we have here, we're going to say negative, and we have 5 times 8 plus 5 divided by 8. That is my first fraction. And my next fraction is divided by 5 times 8 plus 3 over 8. And so I'm going to convert them first. So my first fraction is going to be negative 5 times 8 is 40 plus 5. That will be 45. So 45 over 8. And then we are still dividing by 5 times 8, that's 40, plus 3, that's 43 over 8. Now here, we're going to rewrite them. So it says negative 45 over 8 times the reciprocal of this one, which will be 8. And I need to clear up a little bit here. So it's going to be 8 divided by 43. Remember, we're taking the reciprocal of this one. And so here, one thing we can do is just cancel the 8 and the 8 because we know that is equal to 1. So then we're just left off with negative 45 over 48. And that was problem 13. And something is making me think that we do not have the correct answer. So I'm going to revise. So this was 5 times 8 is 40. So 45 over 8. And then we had 5 times 8 is 40. Plus 3 is 43 over 8. We are dividing. And so negative 45 over 48, let's see. If we divide by 3, both of them, so I know 45 divided by 3 is 15, so I'm going to put negative 15. And then 48 divided by 3 is 16. And I still think it's wrong, but I do not know why. So I'm going to move on to the next one. Maybe you guys could find why. Okay, so I'm going to move on to 15. And here we are subtracting, and we're going to first convert them into improper fractions. So my first improper fraction is going to come from multiplying 2 times 4 and then adding 1. 2 times 4 is 8 plus 1, 9. So that will be 9/4. My next, and then we have a minus. And actually we could take care of that problem right here, negative and negative. That's going to give us a positive. So then here we're going to multiply 5 times 5 and then add 1. So 5 times 5 is 25 plus 1 is 26. 26 divided by 5. Now here we know right away that the common denominator is going to be 20. We know that our first fraction needs to multiply by 5 times 5 over 5. So that will give me 45 over 20. My second fraction needs to be multiplied by 4 over 4. And 26 multiplied by 4 is 104. So 104 over 20. Then if we add these two numbers, 104 plus 45, we're going to get 149 over 20. And if we were to turn that into an a mixed fraction, it would be 7 and 9 over 20. And that is the end for problem 15. Now let's move on to 16. And for 16, we're just we have 3 fractions multiplying each other, so we're going to multiply straight across. 1 times 3 is 3, and then times another 3 is 9. For the bottom, we have 2 times 5 is 10, and 10 times 4 is 40. And that will be the reduced form of it. I'm going to stop this video here, and then I will be recording a fourth one